They thought it was about crowds. They thought it was about followers, about networks, blue checks, bank balance, clout. They thought status would carry them through the storm, until you showed up, until you walked in without announcing yourself, without flash, without noise, without a mask. And suddenly, the room changed. Suddenly, the ones talking the most had nothing to say, because presence can't be faked, because real power walks quiet. And you came armored in silence, built in fire. They didn't expect it. They never saw you coming. They only understood value through lenses, cars, jewelry, events, who you know, who you're with. They thought the world belonged to the flashy, until they realized real kings don't have to compete. Real queens don't have to beg for a spot. You didn't need an invite to the table. You were the table. They were playing chess for attention, and you were playing war for purpose. They were building an image, and you were building a legacy. Because while they were trying to be seen, you were training to be unstoppable. Let me say this loud. Status is just a disguise for the weak. It's a way to look strong when you feel empty. But you don't chase titles. You don't beg for praise. You built yourself in the dark, alone, unappreciated, overlooked. You didn't whine. You didn't complain. You got to work. While they talked, you executed. While they bragged, you bled. And now they fear you, not because of what you wear, not because of what you drive, but because of what you became when no one was watching. That's the kind of power they can't buy. That's the kind of strength they can't fake. Let me remind you what they never told you. The world doesn't respect status. It respects force. And force is built in solitude. Force is built when you're broken and still move forward. When the door is slammed in your face and you don't knock again, you build your own. They thought success came from networking. You knew it came from obsession. They thought branding would save them. You knew character would build empires. You see, they always ask, who's backing you? Who knows you? Who did you train under? As if that validates you. But the truth is, you were self-taught. You were self-built. You were self-crowned. And that scares them. Because if you didn't need validation to rise, they can't control you. And if they can't control you, they can't diminish you. They can't cancel you. They can't undermine you. Because what you are is not allowed. It's not sanctioned. You're not playing by their rules. You're rewriting them. You see, they thought status was the finish line, but you realized the real war is internal. And while they were polishing their image, you were forging a spirit of steel. Because status is only loud when there's nothing underneath. But you're quiet because you're full. You're calm because you're armed. You're still because you're prepared. They underestimated you because they couldn't quantify you. You weren't on the radar. You weren't in the metrics, but that was the plan. You were never trying to impress. You were preparing to dominate. Let me drill this into your mind. You don't need permission. You don't need acknowledgement. You don't need an introduction. You walk in and you take over. They will try to label you, to define you, to limit you, but you were not made for cages. You weren't born for applause. You were built to break thrones and make new ones. Listen to me. They will pretend they don't see you. They will act like you're irrelevant, like you don't exist, until one day you win so loud that their silence screams. That's when they remember. That's when they panic. Because while they were faking power, you were becoming it. And now they can't compete because they never put in the pain. They can't match your calm. They can't match your mind. They can't match your energy because they didn't earn theirs. But you paid in full, in tears, in betrayal, in losses, in late nights where nobody clapped for you, in early mornings where no one texted, called, or cared. You built yourself with no witnesses. Now they want access. Now they remember your name. Let them watch from the sidelines. Let them choke on the dust of your discipline, because you're not here to prove anymore. You're here to conquer, and what's coming is too big to be denied, too real to be ignored. You will walk into rooms they swore you'd never enter, sit at tables they said you weren't worthy of, lead the very people who once laughed at your hunger, because that's what happens when status collides with substance. Substance wins every time. You ever notice how the loudest ones fall the fastest? How the ones flashing money are the first to panic when the storm hits? That's because status doesn't teach you how to suffer. But you learned in the trenches. You learned when the lights were off and the fridge was empty. You learned when you had nothing but your name. When you had to face humiliation, silence, and rejection with your back against the wall, and still you kept going. No likes, no views, no audience. Just you and the war inside. They don't know what that does to a person. They don't know what it's like to rise from rock bottom without a handout. So when you walk in calm, it confuses them because they expect noise. They expect neediness. But you show up like someone who's seen death and laughed back because you're not here for attention. You're here for total dominance. And that scares them because it's not just your work ethic. It's your mindset, your ability to walk away, your ability to disappear and rebuild in silence. They can't figure that out. They can't buy that level of peace. Let me tell you what you already know. Status is fragile. It shatters under real pressure. But character becomes diamond under pressure. You didn't collapse. You crystallized. You became someone they can't insult, someone they can't discredit, someone they can't ignore, no matter how hard they try. Because when a person has seen the bottom, the top no longer blinds them. They know what to look for. They know when it's real and when it's fake. And you You walk with the strength of someone who has been forged, not just decorated. That's why you don't flinch when they try to shame you. That's why you don't react when they try to trigger you. You know their games. You've mastered their tricks. Because while they were getting applause, you were getting prepared. While they were addicted to likes, you were addicted to growth. And now you've become something different, something rare, something dangerous. You can't be baited. You can't be distracted. You don't need crowds. You don't need praise. You are the standard. They dressed up to impress. You trained to transform. They invested in perception. You invested in pain. Because pain is the real teacher. Pain teaches what luxury never will. Pain carves humility, hunger, and purpose into your spine. It tattoos resilience into your DNA. It makes you patient, calculated, unstoppable. That's what you carry when you enter the room. Not style, not flash, but gravity. Presence so strong it shuts conversations down. You don't beg for attention. You command it. Because you didn't buy your value, you bled for it. They thought they could outshine you. They didn't know you don't play that game. You're not chasing the spotlight. You're building the sun. You don't want the table, they can keep it. You're out here building kingdoms. Alone if you have to. Without credit. Without validation. Because you finally realized they'll never crown you. You'll have to crown yourself. They don't give power. They fear it. And what you've built, it's terrifying because it wasn't given. It was earned. Earned through silence, discipline, and self-control. And here's the truth. They never admit. People don't hate you because you're loud. They hate you because you're quiet and still winning. They hate that you don't need to post, that you don't need to announce, that you can disappear for 6 months, then reappear as a new machine. That's a different type of power. That's a different kind of focus. And it can't be influenced. It can't be manipulated. It can't be broken. Because you already lost what they fear losing. You already faced what they're too soft to endure. You walked through fire and didn't come out begging for pity. You came out sharper, colder, wiser. Now you walk with the kind of calm that only comes from chaos. And they can't stand it, because they worked their whole life for applause, while you worked your whole life to be untouchable. They thought popularity made them immortal. But you built discipline. You built focus. You built inner peace. And that's worth more than any title. They'll try to compare. They'll try to measure. But how do you measure someone who refuses to lose? How do you measure someone who kept going through heartbreak, loss, betrayal, and failure?